this morning, Nigerians encourage corruption, says June 1st of the Punch newspaper. America's Nigerian Gardeners Forum calls for Okunjo Iweala's resignation. Page 2 of the Punch newspaper.
The dailies every day on Core TV News.
WILCOX ALESTA public affairs analyst joins us today on Core Digest. Thank you very much for finding time to come.
Thank you very much, Nifemi.
All right, let's start with, let's continue with the top stories on the front pages of some newspapers. The Nation, the Vanguard, the Guardian, the Punch, and of course the Daily Sun as well this morning. We'll start with the Nation newspaper. The top story here, Chibok parents to Buhari, you can rescue our girls. Kids, others march on education ministry in Abuja. You see also pictures right here on the front page showing 219 girls on their way to the ministry. That was yesterday. It is true that the girls are the victims. The parents and guardians are suffering the agony, trauma, and pains. But the embarrassment is that of the government and the people of Nigeria. We want to find out more on that. It's on the front page. It continues on page 4 of the Nation. Inside, government will rescue them, says NSA. Showing how others called for action. Saraki, we must be hopeful. Reps insist on girls' rescue. UN remembers Chibok girls. Get details of all of that on pages 4, 10, and 11 of the Nation newspaper. Supreme Court affirms Fayoshe's victory. Jonathan rejects Constitution Amendment. Deputy sues Mimiko for stopping allowances. Ladoja heads for tribunal to challenge Oyo results. Orekoya kids' parents beg for cash to pay ransom. Quite sad. Let's start with this very interesting top story. Chibok parents to president-elect, you can rescue our girls. And it looks as if the president-elect already talked about the fact that he's not even sure that they can be rescued.
That is the crux of the matter. You see, there's a lot of hope and expectation on parents from the parents to the incoming president, because they've lost all hopes with the current administration, and so they are believing that with the emergence of General Muhammadu Buhari, and who is somebody that is committed to delivering on his electoral promises, that he could do a lot in that. But the proviso is, where are these girls? Are they still alive? If they are still alive, are they still in one piece? I mean, 1 year down the line, these are girls that are adolescent, they are matured girls. Are they still the way they were? Some of them could have been married, or some of them could have had children. I mean, would have had kids or a kid or thereabout. So there's a lot of intrigues, and Jeremiah has said it, that if they are alive, they can be rescued. So it really depends on what approach that is used to do that. But I believe, let's still keep hope alive. I feel the pain of the parents. I feel very, very sad about this whole development, that a government could treat Nigerian children in this form. Well, thank God that we're having a new dawn, and with this new dawn, let's hope that never again in our national life will this occur.
Let's move away from there and find out what the stories are on the front page of the Vanguard this morning. Buhari to move against pension for ex-governors. The writers here says Nigeria can survive under the pensions. It's a welcome proposal, says Keyamo. The Vanguard also features the procession commemorating 1 year after the abduction of the Chibok girls. Fayoshe in victory dance as Supreme Court validates his election. That's on page 11. And then you have all the stories here. Military to liberate Sambisa forest before May 29, says Dasuki. That's on page 9. They say the president-elect probably might have more battles to fight within than outside. Look at this. A move against pension for ex-governors.
Well,
do you foresee some resistance from within?
Well, the truth of the matter is this: Nigeria is one of the easiest countries to govern. You know why? The average Nigerian, either politician or out there, is afraid, and you can only fight a battle when you know the strength of your opponents. You can go to battle when you know the resolve of your, or the ineffectiveness of your opponents. He will fight battles, yes, but I tell you, it won't be a fierce battle. He will set the rules, and if it's either you fall into the line or you fall out. Now, talking about this extension, I think there are two sides to it. State House of Assembly have your right to make laws, and some of these laws were made by State House of Assembly. But on the current realities on the ground, if it's clear that those pensions that they are awarded, that the governors twist their various houses to award to them, are things that this country cannot sustain. So Buhari himself, was not. Rejected his own national pension. His own pension as an ex-serviceman, ex-head of state. He rejected the bogus amount he was to collect, and so if he does that, then it will cascade down. He's already setting the parameters. He's talking about people declaring themselves publicly in and out of government. So the stakes are higher now. The parameters have been set. He will fight those battles, but I can tell you it won't be fair, because people within around him will know this is a man that is resolved to do what is right.
Many are also beginning to talk about the daunting challenges ahead to the incoming president. At one hand, Nigerians do have expectation. At the other hand is the challenge of keeping the merger together, given the multiplicity of interests. How do you see this?
The merger will remain, because the merger will certainly remain. I can't see, because right now the momentum is in favor of Nigerians, and Nigerians are the ones that has been made this merger to be more effective. We are looking at the different personalities that make up. When this merger the APC merger first of all came up, people touted everything, like Anokupe said, call him a bastard if he didn't survive 1 year. So people can rightly call him a bastard if he so desire. It said, okay, they would get torn apart during the primaries. They had the first primaries, they didn't turn apart. They said election that Buhari is inelectable. He's old, he's going to do and all kinds of prophecy of doom against him. He has survived all of them, and so because the Nigerian spirit, the Nigerian people are really behind. So the merger will remain. Now the problem will be how everybody will want to key in, and of course we are going to fight. You're fighting against Nigerian people now. You're not fighting against General Muhammadu, because Nigerian people are the ones that elected him, and the expectations are high, yes, and that's why they are trying to dance more the time, because you don't expect a 24-hour quick fix to the problem. The problem has been mounting, but if you see actions, for instance, if you begin to see a leaner government, a responsible a government that is cutting waste by the day, one will have hope that they are going at the right direction. But not you come back now and when you want to announce a cabinet, you announce a cabinet of 48 like we have now. You announce SSAs of essays and SSAs of then Nigerians will begin to lose hope. But if you see a lean government, the constitution says every state should produce one. And if you do it by rotation, okay, every state is going to produce one. But at the first instance, let's start with 18 or 19 as the case may be. No, we had 36 states. Let's start with 18. You have 18 ministers, and then you begin to also, every state will get. But okay, let us do it as the funds available. Everybody must not be on the table at the same time. So I think that's the part. I think that's the way that the general will go, and then get people whose hands are not soiled, who are not corrupt, who are not whose mouth is not wide in terms of expectations, as they put them in government and they will deliver.
Let's see what The Guardian has to offer today. On the front page of The Guardian newspaper, UN Reps Soyinka Tomi seek release of Chibok girls. The writer here, government committed to rescuing the abducted students, says Okonjo Iweala. Supreme Court upholds Fashi's re-election. The writer's PDP government hailed verdict amid jubilation in Ekiti. APC Speaker Omirin urges respect of verdict. You want to find out what that is all about? It continues on page 2 of The Guardian. Military to liberate Sambisa forest before May 29, says Dasuki. That's on page 3. Local election observers fought calls for cancellation of Rivers Akwa Ibom Guba polls. That's on page 4. And government to review firms' pioneer status. Page 20. The count is on, however, on the front page of The Guardian. Day 366. Bring back our girls. And we're hopeful that the count will fizzle out soon. Definitely the good news will come from that end. But let's go to Ekiti very quickly. They say the Ekiti state governor seemed to be soaring higher and higher, even in the midst of daunting challenges. At one hand is the 19 APC lawmakers, and then just yesterday the Supreme Court also struck out the APC case against him in court.
Yes.
Do you see this as victory at last
No,
for
no.
the Ekiti governor?
There's no correlation between the activities of the 19 lawmakers and his victory at the tribunal. You know, remember, this is a post-election matter, which the APC didn't have any strong case to go to the tribunal, really. For me, it was a waste of judicial time for them to have gone to the tribunal. Fire immediately writing back congratulating Fire after the election. That election was a bit it's a bit sanitized election, and so even when Omishorin Oshun went to the tribunal, so I know it's going to be a fruitless effort. But that does not have anything to do with the 19 lawmakers that are against that are for him. Faisha has not had the last laugh. Since week, Faisha has wrong a lot of people. And the Ekiti environment, the Ekiti story is rather very intriguing and very funny by the day. You know, this is a man that's under pressure, yet he keep delivering for his party. Whatever magic he's doing, only him and him alone knows that those magics. But the fact remains on the ground is that he's not going to find it easy in Ekiti. Moreover, now that power at the center has changed hands, you know, most of the things he did, most of the choices he committed rely on the powers from above.
You have to consider that his party now has 25 out of the 26.
It doesn't matter. His party had 20. He had 26 over 26 when he was impeached in 2006. 2006. Yeah, he had 26 over 26. It was impeached in 2006. It depends on. You see, Alamesi had 24 over 24 when he was impeached in Bayelsa. What do you call him? Darie had all the yet. So it depends on how the powers that be from Abuja wants to deal with you. You see, unfortunately, the PDP set a very bad example, which now most of them will certainly reap. I can tell you that they will certainly reap it, and I'm seeing a situation in Rivers State where there will be more and more instability in Rivers State because the PDP will certainly reap back part of what they have unleashed at other people. So Fayeshe is not free, it's not safe, it's still dancing, and that's why I see they're calling for reconciliation, calling for you can see looking sober. It's not the same Fayeshe that you see before the election that was wasking in inferior and abusing Buhari, unrepentantly abusing APC and everything. He says he's going to wipe them out of Southwest, out of Nigeria. But you are not seeing a Fayeshe that is standing alone. Even Mimiko is neither here nor there. Because I can tell you, when election comes next year, there will not be a PDP again on those states. That I can tell you for free. He's lost it. So he's the only one that is even standing. But I can tell you, when the powers from Abuja descend on him, he will not find where to hide. That is certainly obvious, and it will happen.
But then, what chances do these lawmakers have, given the limited time they have in office?
It takes about 1 week or 2 weeks to conclude an impeachment, depending on the side of the coin, of the divide that the law enforcement agencies are dancing.
Well, what do you think will be working for them? Because the way it is, the PDP is still in power.
No, what's working for them right now is that the PDP is well, but again, the security agencies and those that are going to do the hatchet job for him, these are career persons that will outlive May 29. So they will be careful in how they also to go about their protective edge around. Fayeshe cannot keep them in job after May 29. Now, so whoever is keeping in job after May 29 is the person that you are also looking at your own long-term career. Okay, a commissioner of police, a GOC or whoever, those people that he has been using. We also look at what happens to them after May 29. If after May 29, you know that you have repercussions, like Amechi told them in Rivers State, copy down the names of any policeman that molested you. He will answer to us from May 30. And that is obviously true because whoever holds the power at the center controls, and it's a bad. I don't like it. I'm not promoting it, but it's a bad culture that the PDP government in the last 16 years infested Nigeria. So they also have, a fair share of it. Even though before we start stabilizing the system, so that you know how it pitches, so that whoever comes to power will insulate the security forces from undue interference, so that they will be unbiased in doing their job. I can tell you, for now, whoever the policemen, the GOCs, the commissioner of police will be careful in what kind of support they give to Fayeshe, because they know that after May 29, Fayeshe will be will just be an ordinary patch. He won't be able to command even a recruit in the police.
Let's see how it goes. On the front page of the Punch this morning, world remembers Chibok schoolgirls. You find that on page 2. And the writers here, UN, UK, showing how others renew calls for rescue. Reps want abducted girls freed before May 29. First anniversary events hold in Abuja, Lagos. Now look at the picture here. You see the father of one of the abducted girls, Yahi Bwada, during a special prayer for the girls in Lagos, as well as Chibok Girls ambassadors and members of the Bring Back a Girls team during the procession to mark the first anniversary of the abduction of the Chibok Girls in Abuja. Restore military ties with U.S. says Buhari. That's on page 2. CBN cuts ATM card holder spending abroad to $50,000. That's on page 28. Jonathan rejects amended constitution. Page 12. Supreme Court affirms Fasci's victory. Is all in smiles on that picture. You want to find out details of that on page 11. Restoring military ties with the U.S. What are your thoughts along that line? Because many people have started talking about the implication of too much Western, intervention in Nigeria.
You can't do without it. You don't produce the arms. You must buy your arms abroad. DIC Kaduna is already producing. I don't know if they're still in operation. They are producing light weapons and they're just ammunition. I don't know if they're still existing. That's DIC in Kaduna, the Defense Industrial Corporation. I don't need that. So every of your arms and ammunition you buy from outside the country. So you certainly need those things. Now, what's showing the ties between Nigeria and America is the fact that the Americans believe that Nigerian government and Nigerian military are not sincere and are not honest as far as this Chibok this insurgency was concerned. And so there were a lot of, they were here to help us, and they left. There are some things they could not say. There are some things that we read in the media or in the social media that we cannot start brandishing on national television because, for one, I don't know, I don't have all the details about it, but rumors have it to the fact that there was collusion between the state, the government, and others with the insurgency. And even when the Americans wanted to go in, they saw a different picture, and that was why the Americans refused to sell arms to Nigeria, because they felt this arm might end up in the wrong hands or into the militant side. So now, if you see a government that is true, if you see a government that is sincere, if you see a government that is responsible enough to want to do the right thing for its people, I'm sure that the American government will not hesitate to restore ties. These are necessary ties because right now Nigeria is looking to the east to buy arms. That is China, Russia, and other places. And in fact, I've even learned that the Americans are blocking a lot of it because you can't pass through. They stop Nigeria from using the Saudi route to buy their arms. They stop a lot of things. So you can see that it's really messy. And every country wants to have its defense mechanism architecture in its right form, in its right mix, and its right position. So Nigeria cannot afford that. So restoring ties with America in terms of military ties with America is in fact should be a fait accompli for this new government. They should do it, and let us get along with it.
Our final protocol this morning is the Daily Sun. Chibok Red Day. Agitators shut down Abuja at 1-year anniversary. Protest abroad also. New amnesty report exposes Boko Haram atrocities. Military would take over Sambisa forest before handover, says the NSA. You want to find out details of all of that on pages 5, 8, and 15 of the Daily Sun. No fresh Ebola case in Lagos, says government. That's on pages 29. That's on page 12 rather of the Daily Sun. Wando records 82% increase in reserves. Find details of that on page 55 if you care to check. Akwa Ibom Guba celebration continues over Udom's victory. Anger in the People's Democratic Party. Top members ask NWC to resign. That's the National Working Committee, right? To resign or be sacked. That's on page 5. It's jubilation in Ekiti as Supreme Court affirms Fasci's victory on page 8. Now let's talk about how to handle opposition, because when the results started trickling in, the fear of many is that Nigeria might just be dawdling back into the one-party system where a single party holds sway at the federal level. The way it is now, APC seems to be the ruling party. It happened overnight. What do you expect from the PDP at this time?
Well, my friend, when I was here with the political secretary of the
PDP in
Lagos last time, I commended him with his resilience. I was trying to massage his ego that he won't defect. And of course, I was just massaging his ego. Now PDP has lost Federal, there's lost Lagos. They can't survive with Three Rivers and Akwa Ibom. That's the only two major strong financial base that they have. And the truth of the matter is that the conservatives have never been in opposition in this country. So they did not understand what opposition, how to be in opposition is. You've already seen the rubble. You've already seen the gale of defections. Now, if those people that are defecting will have a place in the APC remains to be seen, because I don't see them. Fashola said it that in a church, sinners and everybody is welcome, but you can't get the pulpit. You know, before you get the pulpit, you must have gone through the. These days, you go through trainings and all whatnot.
What an analogy for someone like Fashola.
You know, yeah, I mean, and it's true. You can't just. A sinner cannot just walk into the church. So you can't just become a member of the church. It's really important that you become a member today and tomorrow you are given one position. A lot of people work for the parties. I work for the party. I work for the victory of the party. So we don't expect that other people just come and then hijack everything. It won't happen because that's not justice, really. But there could still be good hands that the party might need. I mean, if without being canvassing for anybody, if a man like Donald Duke, who was not in the party for coming to the party, people need antecedents in Nigeria, and is given a position, Nigeria should applaud that because there are good persons. They are not all bad, but of course the party will have to be. But for me, there should not be anger in PDP. PDP shot itself of the foot several times. In fact, I can tell you that the politics and the presidency of Jonathan destroyed the party far more than anything. It didn't cohere the party at all. Maybe they didn't know how to get their mix right. When they allowed other governors to defect, they changed chairmanship overnight. They were imposing candidates upon people. The wife of the president was overbearing. They wanted to decide who rules everybody. It has happened before when PDP in 2003 swept the whole. PDP had 29 governors, swept the whole north, southwest, southeast, everywhere was PDP. You know, from you name it, from only Lagos in fact, it was a one-man riot show that Tinubu was the only position standing as far as the South was concerned. And you see, and that's why I said Tinubu is a man that anybody should respect, because this is a man that galvanizes the opposition back, that built from nothing, from just Lagos. He was able to build up to the top, and today he has been able to install help. I mean, he has been able to provide a platform for which Nigerians install a progressive president. So they should copy that example. They should not just. It's not time for these are politics of we must always chop. We must always where it's happening. We must always chop where the pot is done. No, build your own. Go and rebuild PDP. Let it be. PDP has about 45 members in the Senate and about 143 members in the House of Representatives. So it's quite a sizable number. So with that, APC is not having to. They're not having absolute majority in the two houses. They're not having to take. They have a simple majority. They're not having to take majority. So they still have. I mean, PDP still have should still have some controlling influence in because there are some laws bills that require two-thirds majority to pass. There are some that requires just simple majority. So they still have a lot of influence to bring to bear. But if they start jumping ship now, they are the one that's going to lead to a one-party state. PDP still have one governor in the north. At least they have one governor in the north, just like they had one APC. AD had one in the south in those days. So from Gombe, I would not know what's going to happen in Taraba. So from Gombe, my professional colleague, what's his name now? The governor, who is an FCA too, like me, in accounting profession, can rebuild PDP from there. They have Akwa Ibom. For now they have Rivers. They have Akwa Ibom. They have Enugu. They have Enugu. They have what they call it. They have Delta. So they can rebuild from there and then recognize themselves. They can recognize themselves and then be able to give APC a good challenge in 2019. It's not a lost hope. Let them learn the act of opposition. It's not every time you eat. The one you've eaten, keep it. Use it now to rebuild their party and become something better.
Do you foresee another merger from the opposition in 2019?
They are fragmented. I mean, what are the opposition? ABGA, I can tell you for free, ABGA is gone. Because even the current ABGA governor, I'm sure his one leg is in APC, one leg is in ABGA. So there's nothing to write him about. ABGA is gone. Is it COA party or is it UPP or which party will form the opposition? Now, you see, they're able to form opposition. The APC was able to form an opposition because ACM was a very strong party. CPC had a commanding influence
in the north.
ANPP though fragmented or though this thing still had, as at the time of the merger, ANPP had about 4 state governors. PDP had, APC had about 5 or 6 states. So CPC had 1. So they were able to, they have power. But Labour is neither here nor there. Labour is only alive when somebody needs a platform. We just picked up Labour ticket and use it. Accord only when, with larger defeat now in Oyo State. I can tell that I'm not sure the man is 70 something now. I'm not sure he wants to run again. So Accord is almost as good as dead, So there is no substance. But it's within the PDP, they still have men and women of caliber. They still have personalities that all they need now is to sit down and rebuild. Give APC a strong challenge. Create an alternative government, like we have the parliament. Create an alternative government, a shadow government. Appoint your ministers of finance and do real politics, real work. When the Minister of Finance comes up with any policy statement, you say your spin doctors at work to analyze it and to bring out an alternative and present Nigerians and tell Nigerians why this one that APC is giving will not work and why your own will work. By so doing, you are creating an enabling environment for you to really run. Nigerians will not start believing in you. Just like they were believing in APC. They start believing in you. Look, APC is getting it wrong in this place. PDP will get it right in this place. Let there be proper politicking now. It's not a matter of PDP power or APC broom. No, now let that be real issue. Because right now, Nigerians have got the kind of government they install by themselves. This is the first time I tell you, Nero, that a man that is prepared for governance, that is prepared, that is had the preparation for governance all along, right from First Republic. Pastor was saying he was not prepared. The Sadona just pushed him. He wants to remain in the north to go and become prime minister in Lagos. I want to remain in my place. Shagari was gunning for a Senate seat when late Maitama Yusuf was supposed to be the political candidate. They said no, he's too wise and intelligent. Let them put the Shagari. Shagari was not prepared. Obasanjo was not prepared. He just came out of prison. The Babangadas of this world wanted to compete the West, and then they propelled him and pushed him. He got there and started learning. Jonathan was President Yaradua was not prepared. He was only propped up because when this man wanted to hand over, he just propped him up. Destiny fell on Goodluck Jonathan, just through providence fell on good. So this is the first time a man, just like Awolowo, was prepared all along to be, he couldn't be. This is the fact that the man was prepared. Right from 2003, he was contesting, 2003, 2007, 2011. So this is the first time Nigerians are getting a man that was prepared from onset to be president. So I think that would be different. He already knows the issues. He's telling you that he's going to form his cabinet within 1 week of inauguration. So he already knows the issues. He already knows where he's going. He already knows those and those the kind of persons he wants to work with. So I think Nigerians are going to get it right this time around.
We have to wrap up this segment now. What impact do you think the result of the 2015 election will have on intra-party activities? For instance, primary elections that eventually determine who the candidates of party are. Before now, it used to be an endorsement factor. Do you see things changing at the party levels? Well,
we'll have a die-hard, sincerely. But I think if enough discipline is brought into bear, if the president-elect has promised that he's going to implement a lot of electoral reforms, the Justice Ware's electoral reform agenda programs, he's going to implement that. If that is done, and the body language of the CNC is such that such things will not be tolerated, then people will fall in line. But at the same time, you can also rule out the fact that there are still party men or big wigs. Sorry, people. Excuse me. Yeah, in some localities that will want to also promote certain things. But I think, by and large, we're getting it right gradually. And if this present administration chooses to do it right and say, let there be discipline, let there be orderliness, then I think we're getting. But I can tell you, 2019, we will not clean up in 2019. But as time goes on, we're going to be getting it. Because Buhari is a product of a free, clean, clear primaries. So I don't think he wants to truncate that achievement, that feat that they've achieved as far as APC was concerned.
Thank you very much for finding time to join us. I've been speaking with WILCOX, ALESTA policy analyst, joined us today on the show. We'll hope to have you join us subsequently.
Anytime.
All right, we'll take another break now. But when we come back, we'll open the phone lines, and it will be our last laps on the show today. You don't want to miss it. Don't go away.
Has it been a difficult task for you to purchase exquisite, classic, durable and sturdy furniture that will last the test of time? Here is good news for you. Purchase high-quality furniture for your household, offices, hotels and schools at Prince Interior Furnishing and Furniture Company Limited. Office address, Goshen Plaza, Showroom 28, Kubo Furniture Market, AYA, Nyanya Road, Abuja. Telephone 0803 119 1444 or 09291 7482. Email princeemeka240@yahoo.com, info@princeinterior.com, website www.princeinterior.com. Purchase your furniture at Prince Interior Furnishing and Furniture Company Limited. Classic, strong, exquisite.
You can now watch Core TV News live from anywhere in the world on our website www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to Core TV Primetime Days.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click Core TV, leave a space, then News. Core TV News, a 24-hour news station.
Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on Digit 360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.
All right, let's also consider some updates from the just concluded election. It will be a good place to start after the Supreme Court has upheld the victory of Ayodele Fayose at the June 24th, 2014 election. It looks as if all things are getting clearer. The talk about jubilant crowd led by the governor himself at the state capital. But let's find out some updates from the ruling.
You can say that the appeal has finally, in this judgment, laid to rest so many issues that are not only relevant to Ekiti State, not only relevant to Dr. Peter Ayodele Fayose, but to the entire electorate in Nigeria as to what constitutes an impeachment, what are the consequences of an impeachment, where and when do you find a man or woman guilty of an offense. And not only that, we know that in our political space, there has been a lot of mudslinging, people making all sorts of unfounded allegations against their opponents. In this judgment, the court has again reaffirmed the hallowed constitutional rule that you do not convict a man unless you have found him guilty after a fair hearing has been offered him.
This is the final court of the country, and they have spoken. The judgment is the law now. And we're happy, even though we lost, because this law must develop. They have now, we all know now, that impeachment is no longer, you cannot even use it as a factor to disqualify somebody. But of course, they made their point that all our institutions, they must be up and doing. If somebody was impeached, you have to go back. The police, to effect arrest, try that governor in the court of law or tribunals, so that you can now bar him for 10 years from recontesting. So we are happy with the judgment.
We are indeed very happy with the outcome of the judgment. It settled a lot of issues. And firstly, that impeachment is not a ground for disqualification. And also the issue of certificate. That the issue of certificate too, whether he forged the certificate or not, have been settled long ago in the case of AD versus Fayose, and it has become res judicatem. There is an estoppel that have prevented them from raising the issue again. that there was no evidence of any forgery, as this issue had long been settled in an earlier case involving AD and the Governor Fayose.
All right, and aftermath of that, you see the governor himself leading hundreds of supporters in Adueke to the state capital. Well, the question this time is whether Governor Fayose was going to be magnanimous in victory given his president's position and issues like this. Let's find out what he has to say.
It is above all. If truly our democracy is about service, our struggle is about service, it's time for the opposition to sheath their sword. Let us have Ekiti state, Ekiti, that we will have peace. Enough of these bickerings, enough of this division. This is not the only state in Nigeria. I am not the only politician. Even if I've wronged anyone, it is time to forgive me. It is time to give me peace because of Ekiti. I didn't vote for myself. They voted for me. And I'm extending love to them. They should come. This is their state. Rather than fight me, fighting me is like fighting the common man. I want everybody, all players, all stakeholders, let us be honorable. Let us allow peace in the state. I have nothing against anybody. I've forgiven everybody, and I want everybody on board. Let's work together in the interest of our state.
Well, the threat was heavy. They were threatening us. When they won, we didn't have peace. They threatened impeachment.
I'm joined now on the laps of the show by policy analyst DIPO OLAYOKUN. Thank you very much for finding time to join us today.
Yes, good morning, viewers. Good morning.
Did you notice anything different in the Ekiti State government, the Ekiti State governor's speech after the Supreme Court's verdict?
Well, I don't think there's anything different. He didn't prefer different. Don't forget that during the campaigns, and people raised issue about his character. He said, no, I'm not a born again.
That's right.
I'm a church person. I've matured, and I have learned my lessons. And sooner than the guy became the governor, no sooner than we saw the typical Fayose came out again. He started terrorizing the APC lawmakers to the extent that 19 lawmakers had to relocate to Lagos. You remembered what happened when he was alleged to have led some group of thugs to a high court premises where a high court judge was beaten up. So I don't think, let's just see, maybe the next few weeks will determine if actually he is a changed person.
Would you consider this as a victory at last for the Ekiti State governor?
Yes and no. Because don't forget that the issue that came up yesterday was the issue of the last year, June 21st, 2014 elections.
That's right.
Before the Electoral Act of 2010 came into practice, we were using, I think it was the 2004 or 2006 Electoral Act that said that all election matters at the state level will end at the appeal court level. That if you go to the tribunal, if you lose there, then you go to the appeal court where the matter ends. But from the 2010 Electoral Act, it says that the election matters at the state level will not even end at the appeal court, but gets to the Supreme Court. And that's exactly why the matter got to the Supreme Court. Like the lawyers have said, the judgment which will now serve as a judicial precedent is like a law now, because when a judgment is passed by the Supreme Court, it's one of the ways of getting the laws in the country. Issues came up. Apart from the issue of the elections, there was the issue of his certificate.
That's right.
Which, like the lawyer said, came up again when he wanted to contest the first time. But the most important aspect of this judgment is the issue of impeachment. Whether impeachment is enough ground to disqualify a candidate. According to the judgment, that when this man was impeached, that perhaps they would have gone further to try him in the court of law. But you look at the issue of impeachment, if you look at the section that talks about impeachment, it said gross misconduct. Are you getting my point? Gross misconduct might not be criminal in the research of it.
Okay.
So there was no way you could get somebody that was impeached on the basis of gross misconduct that had nothing to do with criminal activities. How then do you take him to court? So, like I said, this is going to be a case study for people to study in the next few weeks. When people say this is the end of the case, it is not. There's provision for what they call judicial review. Even when you have new evidence, you can take it to the Supreme Court people who gave the last the apex court judgment. And if you have new evidences and then you have new facts, support factors, whatsoever, they can review the judgment. That's why they call judicial review. But for now, it is expected that the Supreme Court has the final say. Because if you are talking of, there's a section of constitution that says if somebody has been found guilty by an administrative inquiry, that person can be disqualified, but you must go to court. It is the court that will say, well, based on this thing, this guy cannot contest. But the point is, if the House of Assembly set up a committee, no, not even the House of Assembly, the House of Assembly will write to the Chief Judge to set up a committee that will investigate a governor that is about to be impeached. Can you say that also it's not administrative inquiry? So that's why I say it's going to be very interesting in the first few days. What is going to come from this thing? But what it means is that, like the lawyer said, every institution of government needs to wake up to its responsibility. Yes, one of the reasons why Fayose was impeached then was the issue of this poultry stuff, which he said he was building, and when the then President Obasanjo got to the factory, that's when the issue of Fayose Kiyagbe, that is, you got to a poultry. The poultry was neat.
There's no stench.
So, and they said, okay, that this guy misappropriated about 1.4 billion naira. I can't remember the figure. And the guy who was supposed to have done it won't be one guy resident in Ibadan. So, perhaps, on the basis of that thing, they should have taken him to court on the basis of this 1.4 billion naira poultry stuff. But, well, maybe institutional government will begin to wake up to their responsibilities now.
But does it not really baffle you that at this point in time we have a situation, for instance, the audio leaked, the audio that was leaked in Ekiti, that doesn't seem to hold water at all?
Yes, because the outgoing government felt comfortable with the status quo. Because if actually, according to the audio that we listened to, the then Minister of State for Defense, who is now, I think he's back in the government, I think it's now Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, I can't remember, that's Muslim Obanukoro, was telling the Army General that I am here on the instruction of the President. So it would be preposterous for us to expect the President to continue to investigate. But I think, as like the Christians will say, power has changed hand now. Some of us believe that in the next dispensation, there's a need for us to get to the root of this matter. Not because of anything, but because of the military that was involved. There's a need for us to protect some institutions like the military. There's a need for us to make sure that the military is not undermined. Because like the Captain Sagiris, if I remember the guy who leaked the tape said, that certain things happened within that time that really undermined the military. He gave the example of Chris Uba, who he said when he was coming to Ekiti, was surrounded by soldiers, and there are sections where civilians are not supposed to get to. That this guy was there, operating like a general. That he even had to ask some of his officers, that, what is this man doing here? They said it is order from above. There's need for us to get to the truth of this matter so that we don't compromise our military.
At that point of getting to the root, how do we ensure that it's not being misunderstood, given the position that the Ekiti State governor took against the APC presidential candidate?
Well, that is his own cup of tea, because you should be responsible for whatever action you take. But I think what is most important is that the state has to be protected. That is exactly what we are saying. Forget about the shenanigans of rigging election, but we want to know whether the military as an institution was compromised, whether a general, the authority could be undermined to the extent that the man was made to cringe before those, I don't want to call them the bloody civilians. But I think the essence is because of our institution. The military should not be allowed to continue with that route. Look at the case of the missing certificate of the president-elect. I read an interview by the Lieutenant General Akinade. He used to be the chief of staff or chief of army staff during this some years back. Very fine officer. He said many of them felt aggrieved that the military deserved have been reduced to this extent. He said when he was joining the army in 1961 or 62, that they were made to submit the originals of their certificate. Because it is assumed that by the time you are leaving the army, you're not going to be useful for anything again, so you don't need certificate. That if Buhari, who served as the board of the military, says my certificate is with the military, he knew what he was talking about. That for that certificate to have now disappeared, that something needs to be done. Obasanjo said so, the same thing. That when this matter came up in 2003 election, they did the investigation and discovered that the certificate was with the army. How did the certificate disappear? So that's what some of us are worried. And that's why when this kind of a thing happens, the military is seriously politicized, then it will be difficult for them to face the task of defending the integrity or protecting the integrity or sovereignty of Nigeria. The way the Babangida administration treated the army because of the Oka coup that failed, when he reduced the army to like a Boy Scout, that is the effect we are seeing. We saw that last year when our boys were making tactical maneuver, running away from Boko Haram because they had killed the army. I hope that the army is now coming back, but we must make sure we don't tread that path again.
How realistic would you consider the impeachment pursuit of the 19 APC lawmakers in Ekiti?
Yes, that's why I said it is not a to huru for the governor of Ekiti. Sometimes in 1979, when we had the democracy under Shagari, in this state, I think it was Kaduna State, this state controlled by Balarabe Musa of PRP. Unfortunately for them, during the governorship, the House of Assembly election, then we were not having elections on the same day. We were having elections like House of Assembly 1. We had 5 days for the election. House of Assembly, governorship election, House of Reps, Senate, and then presidency. Unlike now when we have 2 days for the election. When they were conducting the House of Assembly election, NPN then won almost all the seats in the Kaduna House of Assembly, while PRP, because of the influence of Aminu Kano, won the governorship. And Barabe Musa made it impossible for him to rule. From the point of even sending his military commissioners nominee, the MPN dominated the House of Assembly, didn't allow the nominee the thing to scale through. So the man was operating without commissioners. And when you are doing like that, it's like a trap which they set for him. By the time they wanted to impeach him, one of the reasons that he was doing things unilaterally. Just like in the case of Ayoshe. Now, you have a budget which you send to the House of Assembly, and you have only 7 members of the House of Assembly approving the budget. And the Constitution is saying that the Constitution is very clear that the governor or the president shall prepare his budget and send to the House of Assembly and National Assembly that will now look at it and pass it and become the law. So if you have 7 people passing a budget that will be implemented by the governor, and the governor started implementing spending public fund, it is an impeachable offense. It was a trap they set which he fell into. So if they are not, unless there is a political settlement, but if they should press ahead, that will go the whole hog. Because that some of us are saying, well, as Christians, maybe they should just allow it to pass. But if you look at Fayoshe's character, if he's in a position that 19 lawmakers are in that position, he will maximize that position to the fullest.
So you're saying that we might have to wait patiently to see how it turns out?
No, that's why I said maybe there's a political solution. Look, you guys, let us sheath their sword. Let us give this guy a benefit of the doubt. After all, you guys are leaving by May 28 or May 29. Just let us allow him to be. He will definitely dig his own grave one day.
Let's go to Oyo State. It's an amazing result that came in from Oyo for the Guba race, where the incumbent governor had 327,310 votes. The runner-up there is the former governor, Rashid Ladoja, who polled 254,520 votes. And the aftermath of the election has been characterized by some sorts of complaints here or there, especially from the members of the Accord Party there. We're going to play the clips for you right now. It's some sort of protest from the Accord Party in Oyo State against the credibility of the just concluded gubernatorial election in Oyo State.
And chieftains of Accord have expressed in different ways their displeasure at the outcome of the governorship election in the state. They say Ladoja is the change they want in Oyo, just as it was observed at the federal level, stressing that they would not stand and watch being cheated.
No collation was done in Iwajowa local government to warrant somebody writing some, results. We were amazed, but nevertheless, we have reported to the state headquarters of Accord.
The truth will be prevail. God Almighty is on the throne. Definitely, we are having it back.
To our surprise, we are robbed.
How do they get the first day were counting? They rob us, and God will not allow them to ride on us.
We are going to get the government back for Rashidi Ladoja. Everything that is taken, we're going to get it back.
Concrete evidence, which we are going to present to the tribunal. We will not take laws into our hands. But I want to sound a note of warning, because it has come to my hearing that the government talks have started harassing our people in the markets, in their homes, in the garages. We will not tolerate this one. Go back to your work. We will continue the fight at this end.
Okay, that's the Accord Party gubernatorial candidate in Oyo State, former Governor Rashid Ladoja. First, let's start by the disposition of the candidate in telling its supporters to be calm and go back home, and they are going to fight at the tribunal. Wouldn't you call that the right step in the right direction?
Yes, and don't forget that the INEC issued a statement the day before yesterday that they have collected their reports from across the states, and then they have the conviction, at least to a certain extent, the March 28 and April 11 elections at least tried to meet certain basic standard, and that whoever is aggrieved should explore and exploit the legal option. The Electoral Act is very clear, and that is why at the commencement of, before the commencement of every election, election petition tribunals are always put in place for people to take their grievances to this place. Because I don't think Nigeria needs anarchy. If election is about service, why must we engage in the brigandage and banditry which characterized the just concluded elections? According to reports, about 112 souls were lost to the elections we just concluded. So if some people are talking about peaceful election, some of us are asking, where lies the peace if you lost about 112 souls to a process? Don't forget that on the day of the election, there are reports that about 50 people died across the state. But so as to not to encourage people to embark on violence,
that's right.
I think we should encourage the legal option. And I'm aware that the tribunals have been put in place. Like the current Chief Justice of the Federation said, that it was like a riot act which he read to the judges, that they should not turn the law court to their gold mine, or where they will be getting the black gold, which we call oil wells. They should see it as a way of deepening our democracy. Yes, if you look at judgments in the past, as a politician, you might not have absolute confidence in the law court, especially the tribunal, because those guys turn it to, we give it to the highest bidder. Some years back when General Dia was the second in command to Abacha, he came on television and said they are aware that some judges, when they are going to read the judgment, they write two versions of a judgment, one for, one against, depending on how you're able to play the game. And that trend has continued to the extent that Justice Shikara Desho, that renowned and reputable judge, said some of them, when they look back at the judiciary which they served with all their strength and all their might, and they look at the rots that have permeated the bench, that some of them will always want to mourn. But I think since the time of the immediate past Chief Justice of the Federation, that woman, Alokta Muhtar Aloma, I think things have started changing for the better. But I think there's a need for us to continue that tradition, because if Nigerians or if the people lose confidence in the judiciary, it's like an invitation to anarchy, because people will say, why do I have to go to the law court when I know I'm not going to get justice? I think we encourage Rashid Ladoja and anybody that feels that he has any grievance against the just concluded elections, that they should go to court. But if we are looking at the just concluded election, going by the Nigerian standard, I think there's a need for us to give a thumb up rather, for the INEC under Professor
the improvement that
because
they've achieved.
Yes, you cannot. Right. The politicians try to thwart that effort, and that's why you saw some of those pockets of violence and pockets of ballot box snatching. But I think if we continue in this tradition, I think in the next 8 years we should be able to sanitize our electoral process.
That's also considering, let's consider how we could improve on this, because in some cases we've seen situations whereby, of course, generally the winner takes it all, the way it is in Nigeria. Have you thought about the benefits that could accrue from unity government, where in such an election where the runner-up has quite some tangible number of votes, there could be a constitutional allowance for some sort of contribution from these other contenders? Probably that will also douse the tension, so that the loser would also know that he or she has a stake in government, even if such eventually loses.
Yeah. It's a good idea, but there's a need for us to be very careful making everything constitutional matter. I remember there was a time when the issue of constitutional presidency came, some people said, let us make it because if you put everything in there, it's like even the constitution will have to even regulate how you prepare your food at home, how you eat your food on the table. I think these are issues that we can just make it like a convention, like a new disposition. For example, in America, I remember that when when the current president took over, he was toying with the idea of even using the immediate chief of staff, that was the person who served Mr. George Bush, to be part of his administration, and that's exactly what he continued. So I think it has to do with the orientation, because if you win an election, what you are there to do is, one, to give good governance to the people, then two, to be like a leader, like a governor. The Constitution said the governor, that the whole state shall be the constituency of the governor. Just like the president, the Constitution says the whole country shall be the constituency of the president. So if you see this as your constituency, nothing stops you from looking even to the other side if you are looking for materials to serve you. Because at the end of the day, the point is if you are able to serve well, at least it will go into record that, oh, this guy delivered when he was there. But unfortunately, when you look at the type of politics we play, it might be like having a fire on top of your roof if you put some of these guys in the opposition, because we play politics of bitterness. We play politics of, oh, he must come down. And some of us witnessed what happened in the just concluded election. You saw the type of campaign of calumny, hate campaigns that you hear, and then you begin to ask yourself, are we all Nigerians? What happens after the elections? I think what we need to do is there's a need for us to make political offices less attractive.
That's right.
That is just very, very important. Some of us are very happy when we heard in the morning paper and news today that the president-elect said he's going to look into the issue of pension for ex-governors, ex-deputy governors. Yes, he might not have the constitutional power to do it. It's just a matter of appealing to some of his party men that what you guys have appropriated to yourself by the time you are leaving office is killing the economy. So if he can do this, at least Nigeria and Nigerians also follow suit by shouting on these guys, I think we'll be making a headway. But there's a need for us to make political offices less attractive.
Thank you very much.
With our attached to these offices, they are too monumental.
Thank you for finding time to join us today. After speaking with DIPO OLAYOKUN, policy analyst on the show. Thank you. It's always a pleasure to have you join us on the show.
It's my pleasure.
All right, don't forget that the Bring Back Our Girls is also coming to Lagos. I understand there's a Lagos chapter convening at the Ganifarmi Park on Friday at 10 a.m. and every interested party is expected to come wearing a red t-shirt. I'm Nifemi Oguntoye. The program continues tomorrow, God willing. Stick around for the top of the hour news. Don't go away.
You can now watch Core TV News live from anywhere in the world on our website. www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to Core TV Primetime News.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click Core TV, leave a space, then news. Core TV News, a 24-hour news station.